What's up, Havenites, and welcome to another episode of the Pull List. Hope everybody's having a good week. I need to be honest with y'all. I've been so busy this week, I didn't get to read all my comics, but I did get to read a bunch of them. Before we get started, though, hey, if you like this type of content, if you like weekly live streams, if you like daily shorts, please hit that subscribe button. We are literally, at last check, I think 6 away from 500 subscribers. If you're new to the channel, welcome. If you're old to the channel, hey, everybody do me a favor and just hit the like button, because believe it or not, it really does help smaller channels like ours. So with that being said, let's get started. Like I said, it's just been a busy week around the house and at work and everything. I got as much read as I possibly could with the time that I had. I only didn't get like 3 comics read, but I didn't plan on really reading one of them anyway. I'll explain that here in a little bit. So let's just go ahead and get started, and we'll get right into the pull list. Right off the bat, we have Dead Romans, issue number 5. This was another outstanding story by Kennedy. We're getting a lot more of the backstory as far as Arminius is concerned. Basically, the Germans are getting ready to go after the Romans. I believe, I want to say when we had Kennedy on the show, this was going to be 10 issues. Been a lot of outstanding battle strategy. This is not your typical comic book as far as what most people would think of comic books as, superheroes, things like that. This has really been, honestly, this would make an outstanding movie, to be honest with you. You know what? I'm not going to say movie. I don't think a movie could do this justice. With what Kennedy has done with the story, there's no way a movie can do this justice. It needs to be a long-form series. It's just been that good. We do find out, and I can't say her name. I tried saying it, and it did not come out sounding safe for work, so we'll just not even attempt to say it. But let's just say the woman that Arminius is in love with, we do find out what's in the bag, and she does deliver it. There is a plan moving forward. She's trying to go back to Rome to basically get her master, her keeper, her whoever it was that raised her. Sorry, Livy decided to get in on the pull list this week. She's trying to get back to Rome so she can basically save his family, because they know that once it finds out that the Romans are pretty much going to fall in Germany, that they're going to end up executing his family. So they're trying to get out with as much money and everything as they can. But if you're not reading Dead Romans, you really need to pick this up. This has been great. Next up, we have Noctera, the Nemesis special. In this one, the vast majority of it takes place in M's head. He's battling Blacktop Bill in his head. They are on their way. They're on their secret mission. They're really and truly trying to keep Bill occupied so nobody can figure out what's going on, or so Bill in the darkness cannot figure out what's going on. This really and truly sets up the next issue, and I'm kind of wondering if the next issue is going to be the last issue, which if it is, I'm going to end up hating that, because Noctera has been outstanding so far. We do get a little more into M's psyche. It's honestly, it kind of comes across as a horror novel, the way that it's written between him and Bill, and they're battling back and forth, and Bill's just constantly after him. It's been really good. Sundog Convoy is doing everything they can, and it's just not looking good for Sundog Convoy. You know what? Let's save this one right here for a little bit. We're going to slide that down to the bottom of the stack. Next up, we got to have the nostalgia read. We got to have the fun comic. Darkwing Duck, issue number 7. Basically, our boy DW has gone to a museum that it's a superhero museum. He thinks it's a museum dedicated to himself, and it's not. It's dedicated to all heroes, and that's driving him nuts, which is actually very funny in this issue. The Justice Ducks are talked about. They're not featured. You do get like their statues and things like that. It's just another nostalgia read. Dynamite's doing a really good job with these. Once again, it feels like you're reading the cartoon that came out when we were kids. So if you're just wanting something fun for the kids, something that you can read to your kids at night, this would be a really good one. Because there's absolutely, even though we do have Morgana, DW's on again, off again girlfriend on the cover, there's nothing scary about this whatsoever. So small kids would actually enjoy it. Next up on the list, we have And yeah, I know I'm going kind of fast. I'm kind of on a time crunch today. Next up, we have DC's Night Terrors, Wonder Woman, issue number 1. This ended up being an outstanding issue. I was really shocked at how good this was. Yes, we have Wonder Woman, Detective Chimp. They are, in Wonder Woman's nightmares and everything, and John Constantine. But they're kind of going through the nightmares together. They can use Wonder Woman's lasso, because once you have a hold of it, or once it has a hold of you, no one or nothing can tear you apart from it. So they're kind of leading each other through. They do end up getting separated through a series of events. I know that Night Terrors has been putting out a ton of books each week trying to get this story told. I don't want to go too in-depth on this for those of you that may not have read it yet. But so far, I'm going to say Night Terrors Wonder Woman has actually been my favorite one out of the series. Which does bring us to... Wait a minute. Among my favorite ones. Which does bring us to Night Terrors Superman. I was kind of disappointed in this one. I don't feel like it really and truly added to the overall story. It did have some good parts to it. Basically, when the Night Terror takes over Superman, he was in flight, so he's falling. He lands in water and he's sinking, and it really comes across as Superman's Night Terror is a world that Lex Luthor saved, which was kind of weird to me, and kind of vain, if you ask me. But it does kind of go on. The cool aspect of it is Kara, Supergirl, ends up busting through her nightmare and into Superman's nightmare. So they're together. You do see someone pull Superman out of the water, which I thought was really cool, because at the end of it, we do have Aquaman, Mara, the Atlanteans. They're standing there over Superman while he's asleep, and even they make a comment about how basically it's not affecting them, it's only affecting quote-unquote humans. I'm throwing that, they didn't say humans, I'm just the surface dwellers, whatever it was they said. But Aquaman does make a comment about how he rules the vast majority of the planet, so, pretty much might as well should be up to him to save it. That was kind of cool, but other than that, I just wasn't that impressed with Superman. If you like Night Terror's Superman, drop a comment below and tell me why you liked it. I don't want to down what anybody else likes. This one just really didn't float my boat. Superman's drowning, float my... Okay, whatever. Next up, we have Gunslinger Spawn, actually, it's technically Gunslinger, issue 22. This one is an action-packed issue from beginning to end. It is literally one fight. It is Spawn and Dakota versus Violator and Clown, and they are going at it. And that's literally, it's the entire issue. It's just one big massive fight. Spawn, I said Spawn, Gunslinger and Dakota. But basically, Gunslinger does find out that the reason why Clown wanted him so bad was to entice Al Simmons' Spawn into helping them take down Coglinosto, or however you say his name, before he got the Throne of Hell. There's a lot of really good fights in this one. This one, definitely not for kids, gory and everything. But it's a great story. Out of the Spawn universe, I think that Gunslinger is still the best comic going and what they're doing right now. Not to take away from the others, because I am enjoying the others. Gunslinger is my favorite. Next up on the list, we do have, by Mad Cave Studios, y'all should have known it's going to be independent in here, Monomyth. This was issue number 3. So in issue number 3, those that are left in the school/castle/whatever, they're trying to make their way through it and survive. There was like a strange little, it wasn't like an interlude, but they started breaking off and telling a story about how certain people became the monsters that the heroes, so to speak, are battling. I enjoyed those backstories. I thought that was really cool about how certain people in their lives, they became these monsters. I would much rather have seen a more fleshed out story, like a one-shot on that, because that was a really cool thing. Other than that, I feel like we got to cut. We're only on issue 3, and we're still building some of these characters. We've got a couple of really strong characters. One in particular, I don't want to say who he is, hint, but I would like to see him and maybe a couple of one-shots, more about him, maybe his adventures after this is over with. They're starting to realize that you'd have to be reading it. It's kind of weird. The magic comes from within, so it's not just like a magic spell. It's basically who you are. You can control that type of magic. And for those of you that are reading it, I hope I made sense out of that. Y'all comment below and tell me if it didn't make sense. But Monomyth is definitely worth reading. It's think a grown-up Harry Potter and a little bit of Dungeons and Dragons thrown in. It's Monomyth, issue number 3. I'm trying to decide if I would recommend this one for kids. I would say young adults. My daughter's 12. If she wanted to read it, I would let her read it. The boy's 17. If he wanted to read it, yeah, he could definitely read it. Next up on the list, we have Night Terrors Nightwing, issue number 1. The best one out of the Night Terrors series so far, in my opinion. Basically, in this issue, Nightwing has been thrown in Arkham. He is having a night terror, and he doesn't know why he's there. He's having to deal with Scarecrow. You know, he's kind of getting called out by some of the other inmates and stuff. He's getting a little bit of his memories back at a time, and he's actually, for lack of a better word, revered. I mean, they're like, everybody's like, hey, you did what we couldn't do. And you do find out that Nightwing actually killed Batman. That is his night terror. I thought that was really cool. This entire issue was definitely, in my opinion, a more horror style issue than the other main titles are. And I'm saying main titles as in Wonder Woman, Superman, all that stuff. I love the way that this one was done. I'm a horror buff, so this one was definitely right up my alley. It was dark. It was, honestly, with what we see at the end of it, with Batgirl being brought in and what's been done to her, it was a little bit, I want to say sadistic, but that may be a little bit too harsh of a word. For you horror fans, you're not going to understand what I'm saying about dark and sadistic. It was just an outstanding read. I mean, as far as the horror genre period is concerned, it was a great read. We already know that at some point Nightwing and Batgirl are going to team up. You know, they're going to help each other out. Dick and Babs are always going to be together. They're always going to have each other's back. They're always going to help each other out. So seeing her at the end of it, her getting thrown in Arkham also, and basically being terrorized by the quote-unquote doctors and the nightmares and everything, that's where it needed to be. That needed to happen, because they, at the end of the day, in my opinion, Nightwing and Batgirl are the ultimate team. And then last on my list is, and if you saw the shorts earlier in this week, you saw this comic in the shorts. That is Void Rivals, issue number 2. So I'm going to go ahead and throw the spoiler alert out there for those of you that are not reading, but you're waiting for certain things to happen. We do not have Transformers in this issue. No mention of G.I. Joe. We did not need that in this issue. This was an outstanding issue. We're getting a lot more backstory on the two races that are at war with each other. We're finding out more about about the two that are stranded, how they're having to work together, and how some way they feel like they are betraying their own kind, so to speak, by helping each other out. You do find out, I cannot think of his name, but his father is some type of duke or governor or anything like that, and from the looks of it, they pretty much hate each other. I think that Kirkman has done a really, really, really good job fleshing out the story in issue 2 alone. Issue 1 was fun. It was a little bit different. It was a little bit quirky, at least I thought, and then we had the Transformers cameo in it, but this one right here definitely sets the pace of the story, and it was awesome. I do have 3 honorable mentions that I didn't get a chance to read yet. Sorry, I will get to them sooner or later. That was Spawn 343, King Spawn 224, and Radiant Black, issue number 25. This is also the beginning of the Catalyst War. I don't know if I'm going to read Radiant Black just yet. I kind of want to save up some of the Catalyst War stuff because we are going to get multiple covers with each Radiant Black. But we're also going to get both sides of the story. So if you are collecting and reading Radiant Black and you did not hear the news on that, for the next 5 months, I think, there will be 2 Radiant Black issues a month, an A cover and a B cover. Those are 2 stories. So don't just pick one up thinking that, you know, hey, I don't need the other cover. You need both of them to get the complete story. For those of you that are saying that that was a marketing gimmick, I personally don't think so because I am reading the story. And for you to have 2 different stories, you know, A and B, it makes perfect sense. Once again, hey guys, thanks for tuning in. I hope everybody has a good weekend. Y'all have a safe weekend. Read a ton of comic books, and we will see you next week.